Yo, Dave, you ready to continue working our way through Tasha's Cauldron of everything?
Sure am, Ted. It's time to discuss College of Creation Bard for 5e D&D.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy for nerds by nerds.
So I guess it's time to create something fun?
All right, so what are we talking about today, Ted? We talked about, bards and college creation. Where can we find that?
So that's going to be in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything as one of the new subclasses for Bard.
Nice. So we're starting to work our way through there, and we've done a couple of these already. What do we got under our belt so far?
Well, we've done the first two subclasses for Barbarian, Path of the Beast, and Path of Wild Magic.
So I guess it's time for us to move on to the Bard College of Creation. It's the first Bard subclass in Tasha's Cauldron and everything. But speaking of creation, it's time to mention our sponsor. And if you want to create stuff like maps, you're going to want to check out Dungeon Fog. Dungeon Fog is a great intuitive tool for making maps. I love this piece of software. I use it in my own games that Ted plays in. It's a lot of fun. You can even use it as a VTT Lite. You can use maps that are already uploaded over there. There's a lot of functions, and you can even check out a free version. We're going to have a link down in the description, so do us a favor, help support the channel by taking a look at the sponsor. With that, let's jump into our College of Creation Bard.
So Bards believe the cosmos is a work of art, the creation of the first dragons and gods. The creative work included harmonies that continue to resound through existence today, a power known as the Song of Creation. The Bards of the College of Creation draw on that primitive song through dance, music, and poetry, and their teachers share the lesson. Before the sun and the moon, there was the song, and its music awoke the first dawn. Its melodies so delighted the stones and trees that some of them gained a voice of their own, and now they sing too. Learn the song, students, and you can teach the mountains to sing and dance. Dwarves and gnomes often encourage their bards to become students of the Song of Creation, and among Dragonborn, the Song of Creation is revered. For legends portray Behemoth and Tiamat, the greatest of dragons, as two of the song's first singers.
So super flavorful. Like at first, like the idea, I wasn't really catching on for me. And then they did a good job of painting a picture, and the idea of, maybe even the whole universe being sung into creation. Like, okay, if you're going with that mythology, then yeah, I feel like the song would be out there, and could definitely be something to latch on as a player, and maybe even spark some lore in your world just from this one college. But what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Are you playing this particular college for the Bards? Do you like it? Do you don't like it? We got a place where we can discuss it with the rest of the Nerdarchy community down in the comments.
And if you would like to create something by helping out Nerdarchy appease the YouTube algorithm, do those things that make YouTube happy, like, share, subscribe, even ring that notification bell.
And as a quick reminder, just remember, we drop new Nerdarchy videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over here on the channel. So come on back and see what's new.
All right, so looking at the class, it's a subclass, so, bards get new powers, starting at 3rd level. And the first thing is Moat of Potential. Whenever you give a creature a bardic inspiration die, you can utter a note from the Song of Creation to create a tiny moat of potential, which orbits within 5 feet of that creature. The moat is intangible and invulnerable, and it lasts until the bardic inspiration die is lost. The moat looks like a music note, a star, a flower, or another symbol of art or life that you choose. When the creature uses the bardic inspiration die, the moat provides an additional effect based on whether the die benefits an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, as noted below.
So before we get to as noted below, right, I automatically think of two things, just from what's here. One is it makes me feel like when you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you get the power up and you've got the thing floating around your head. And the other thing is don't cast a spell on that guy. He has bardic inspiration.
So that is comical. Like, to me, the first thing that jumps into my head is the Ion Stone. Is a magic item that typically circles your head anyway. So part of me would be like, all right, how many things can I have floating around my head? Are there Ion Stones? And Bardic Inspiration. Is there anything else that winds up going down this direction?
Also, I would like to point out, Bardic Inspiration lasts a little while, right? So, technically you could give it to the whole party, and they've like all got these moats floating around their head. I'm like, oh my God, would you guys just use your Bardic Inspiration already? You're making me dizzy looking at you. Like, you need a flash warning for the players after your bard uses their Bardic Inspiration.
So on with the powers. If you use it for an ability check, when the creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die to add it to an ability check, the creature can roll the Bardic Inspiration die again and choose which roll to use, as the moat pops and emits colorful, harmless spikes for just a moment.
So we're basically,
if you use it,
I was just gonna say, we're basically seeing advantage for a die that's not the D20.
Yes, and that's definitely a lot of fun, and a mechanic that I've actually used in my games previously. So it's cool to see, that other people had the same idea. For an attack roll, immediately after creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die to add it to an attack roll against the target, the moat thunderously shatters. The target and each creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of it must succeed on a con save against your spell save DC or take thunder damage equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die.
So now what we have is, like, you might want to use your Bardic Inspiration die even if you don't need it, because you just want to make it explode and do thunder damage to everybody around your target.
Then finally, immediately after the creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die and adds it to a saving throw, the moat vanishes with a sound of soft music, causing the creature to gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die, plus your Charisma modifier, minimum of 1 temporary hit points.
So, I mean, all in all, this is a significant power up for the Bard's Inspiration die. It is a lot better than a lot of the other ones. I mean, College of Lore is still really good. Like, they nailed that one right out of the get-go. But, like, when you compare it to maybe, like, I don't know, College of Valor, it'd be like, matter of, like, you kind of do, like, you do better damage with this one than you can by being a College of Valor, right? Because they can add that die to their damage, but it's still not, it's not quite as good.
I think it's fun. The other thing that I look at as far of these abilities, and we've said it on a lot of different videos, but like, these are things that I think are, could be very fun, boons or extras, that could be tossed onto another bard. Like, you might not get the whole ability, you might just get, the one option, if you use it for attack rolls, you get this, or, saving throws, you get that. But it would be a way to kind of like spruce up and spice up, a bard who was playing an earlier version, or, one of the previously released classes, but really likes some of the aspects. So picking and choosing things from other subclasses, I think, is a cool way to, kind of reward a character who's been playing something, from the PHP from the very beginning.
So next up, we have Performance of Creation, also 3rd level. As an action, you can channel the magic of the Song of Creation to create one non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you. The item must appear on a surface or in a liquid that can support it. The GP value of the item can't be more than 20 times your bard level, and the item must be medium or smaller. The item glimmers softly, and a creature can faintly hear music when touching it. The created item disappears after a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. For examples of items you can create, see the equipment chapter in the player's handbook. Once you create an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 2nd level or higher to use this feature again. You can have only one item created for this feature at a time. If you use an action and already have an item with this feature, the first one immediately vanishes. The size of the item created with this feature increases by 1 size category when you reach 6th level to large, and 14th level to huge.
I think this is fantastic. I don't know how useful it is of getting to huge. When you are creating a non-magic item, that has value. I mean, heck, maybe when you're 20th level, you want to create a catapult. I mean, maybe a catapult is, able to fit within that gold, gold cost value.
Well, it so happens at 14th level, I believe, the requirement for gold goes away and it's no longer there, which is, we'll see that in another feature. But yeah, I'm curious to see what a player would do with this in a game, because players can be quite crafty and creative, and who knows what they're going to come up with. And also for like that large or huge item, right? Like it says items from the PHB, but what if they're like, hey, can I create a giant tortoise shell? Like that may fit under those size categories, but you're like, how much does a giant tortoise shell go for, right? So like they might even do things like that, right? Or like, I mean, honestly, at 14th level, you create something that's huge and you're like, well, how much does it really cost to make a hut, right? Even though like that's a level where the restriction would kind of go away. But, at a certain point, like you can kind of make like a small house, right? Like, it doesn't really say like it has to be a simple item or just a non-magical item. So it's like whatever they can think of, right? Like you could totally do suits of armor, like that has a limited duration. Like it could kind of be cool if you get captured and you use this feature to give the barbarian a greatsword. So like now the party's not completely unarmed or, whatever.
Yeah, I think this is fun, and it definitely rewards the creative players, the creative thinkers who are going to make something interesting, whether you're looking for something to hide behind, something to arm yourself, something to, get past some kind of trap, fool someone. I mean, literally, it is just open to whatever you can imagine. So to me, I think that is just great.
Yeah.
And, it's going to reward those kind of players.
Yeah, medium-sized creature. Can you make a life-size doll of somebody, right? Like, depending on how much you feel a life-size doll would cost.
All right, I'm not touching that with my 10-foot pole. Let's move on to 6th level, Animating Performance. As an action, you can target a large or smaller non-magical item you can see within 30 feet of you and animate it. The animate item uses the dancing item stat block, which uses your proficiency bonus. The item is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. It lives for 1 hour until it's reduced to 0 hit points or you die. In combat, the item shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it can take on its turn is the dodge action unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. The action can be one in its stat block or some other action. If you are incapacitated, the item can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. When you use your Bardic Inspiration feature, you can command the item as part of the same bonus action you use for Bardic Inspiration. Once you animate an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use this feature again. You can only have one item animated by this feature at a time. If you use this action and already have a dancing item from this feature, the first one immediately becomes inanimate. And it's got, the whole stat block for a dancing item, which is, pretty cool. It's got, an immutable form, an irresistible dance. Fun.
So there's a couple things, right? One, like, as far as hit points go, when you first get access, it starts with 40 hit points, so it's no chump. It's not, it's not bad at all. I mean, technically, it's a lot better than the Ranger's Beast Companion at this level. It's got decent enough stats and things that you can do with it. It lasts for a little while. And also, what if you don't have an object to animate? Well, guess what? We have the ability to create a non-magic item, at this point of large, right? So we could create the item and then animate it, whether it's a suit of armor or, I don't know if a catapult would still be large. It might be a catapult, so you can animate the catapult. And I don't know, could you possibly instructed to catapult things. Like, you know, from a pile of rocks or the barbarian or whatever you need to catapult it.
Yeah, it's full. Again, this subclass is designed to reward those creative players, and you know, depending upon what you animate, is going to create a number of things. It's got a fly. It's really strong. So like, okay, well, I'm gonna animate a shield. Well, now I've got essentially a hoverboard that is flying in a mobile platform for my archer or my fighter to just get scooted around the battlefield. And there's nothing wrong of like, okay, well, it's going to scoot over there. And then while this mobile platform slams into the monster, the fighter who's got, you know, the high ground is slamming his sword down on top of the thing as well. Utterly, you know, fun and ridiculous that you could wind up doing with this if you would decide to, you know, get creative and have fun with it.
Also, both this ability and the one prior to it have limited uses, but you can also charge them with your spells. So, and which is a feature we really like. We like the idea of this cool thing that you have limited uses on, but then you can have this other resource that you can kind of tap into. So that's really cool. So, I mean, in some ways, it's like, is this power creep in the game? Is this making some of our previous options obsolete? Because in some ways these options are a lot better, or as GMs, and do we have to like revisit some of the other options and go, well, you know what, maybe this should have the similar feature where we can also use spell slots to power this ability. Some food for thought as these other products come out. So 14th level, we get our final capstone ability, Creative Crescendo. When you use a performance of creation feature, you can create more than one item at once. The number of items equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 2 items, but it'll probably be 5 because we are a 14th level bard. If you create an item that would exceed the number, you can choose which the previously created items disappear. Only one of these items can be maximum size you can create. The rest must be small or tiny. You know, so now we can create that catapult with, you know, with some ammunition. And let's see, you are no longer limited by GP value when creating items with the performance of creation. So maybe you don't want to do Lehman's tiny hut anymore, and you just straight up make a house, a small house. I mean, because huge is big, but
all right. So I'm gonna use my College of Creation bard. I'm going to create a catapult and a number of boulders, you know, so let's say 4. I'm going to take one of those boulders and I'm going to animate it. So now I'm going to have the catapult get fired, and then the animated boulder, once it hits, it's going to land and keep attacking, because that's what I do.
Nice. That's fine. Just don't create any life-size styles of your companions or NPCs and then animate them, because it would be creepy.
So all right, I think this is a fun, a flavorful, a subclass that is rich with lore, things that can be used in a lot of different ways. And I didn't touch on them, but the aspects of, you know, the Song of Creation from a GM's perspective, I could definitely see this subclass being kind of perverted and twisted to villainous actions. You know, someone who's
does that go hand in hand with creating those life-size dolls and animating?
No, I wasn't going that direction at all. But I was thinking of, like, you know, what if a bard, you know, a villainous bard of the subclass found like a true note of creation, and the things that he creates wind up lasting, and you know, he's walking around doing these things and, you know, causing chaos and confusion wherever he goes, making changes, things that, you know, are animating, you know, almost like a, you know, bit of a Pied Piper scenario. You know,
dude, Babes in Toyland. Literally, like, you could be doing that.
So I think that there's so much the potential of story with what's here beyond what a creative player PC is going to wind up doing. I'm definitely digging what the options are here.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff to work with there. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is a great resource for players and GMs. Hey, if you want to check out one of the other subclasses that we already discussed, you can check out the Path of the Beast for the Barbarian.
And if you're looking to help support Nerdarchy, you could always head over to Patreon and become one of our patrons.
And as a thank you, you'll receive monthly 5e content for players and DMs alike, a chance to game with us, and more.
So until next time, stay nerdy.